And call the meeting to order.
Yes.
7:30 p.m. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the mayor and council meeting and the public hearing of June 3rd, 2019, and the public hearing on the budget.
I will move that we accept the mayor and council minutes of June the 3rd, 2019, and the mayor and council public hearing on the budget on June the 3rd, 2019.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we unanimously approve the minutes. The operating funds on hand tonight for the town of Chestertown, total operating cash on hand for unrestricted use is at $503,155.87. In the marina fund for restricted use, we have $19,554.42. The next item on the agenda is the payment of the bills. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
I move that we pay the bills as submitted.
Yep, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show we unanimously agree to pay the bills, which brings us to the hidden item in the agenda, which is the police report from Chief Butler.
No pressure with the time. Good evening.
Forgot to put them on.
I'd like to review the statistics for May for the Chestertown Police Report 2019. We had 340 hours of administration, 22% of our time. Our criminal investigations were 79 hours at 5. We had 18 hours of accidents at 1, 809 hours of vehicle patrol at 52%, 232 for foot patrol, which was 15%. Training was 89 hours at 6%, court 6 hours at 1%, and 183 and a half hours overtime at 12. We had quite a few special events. Our adult arrests were 17, 42 were separate charges. We had 11 each for burglary and theft. We had 6 FOA, 5 assaults, and 2 each for disorderly, 2 school disturbances, and 2 for road and vagabond charges. 1 each for harassment, MDOP, and robbery. We had 8 Part 1 offenses, and we cleared 8 by arrest, 1 by exception. And we had Part 2 offenses of 5. We cleared 1 by arrest and 1 by exception. We issued 12 motor vehicle citations. We issued 137 motor vehicle warnings. And we had 325 red speed violations, which is coming back up, I guess, because of summer traffic. The overtime broken down, you can see that in your pie chart. We had 5 hours for court, 78 for special detail, 59 for shift coverage, 40 for training, and 24 for extended investigation. Our awards were broken down with 1 having almost 4%, Ward 2 was 29%, Ward 3 was 28%, and Ward 4 was 22%. Our busiest day of the week was Wednesday, and our busiest time of the week was 5 to 6 in the evening. So that's what I got for statistics. I do have something to bring to your attention that I'm disappointed with, but it's what it is. So Wednesday, I received a resignation from one of our recruit officers. We had 2 in the academy and 1 resigned. It is unfortunate. I'm disappointed, but it is what it is. I do have a contract signed by him. Chief, you've discussed this before, I know. That was revamped by our town attorney, and I'm confident that it will hold. But the reality is that we have a lot of time and money spent, or expended, invested, I guess is what you want to say, for the last couple months. So question is, how much can we recoup, or can we recoup like the salary? My understanding is that that's not likely. So beyond what is in the contract that we did have him sign, that's the expense of the school, ammunition, and some equipment. But it pales in what our real expense was. I've been in a couple situations or places around chiefs in the last couple of days. In fact, I called some chiefs and just said, hey, what's going on. One chief said it well, that we used to have a gentleman's agreement that you wouldn't steal the guy, next door or from around here. He said that, but all that's off right now. There's a lot of competition with people, trying to fill their ranks. I was informed today that one agency on the shore is paying a $10,000 bonus to officers that will sign, kind of like the athletes do, a one-time fee or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff that we're competing with. And he said, I'm very disappointed that we don't have that. Quite frankly, I was very pleased, and I appreciate you extending the opportunity for us to keep those 14 officers. This now puts us in that position that we're at 13. So that may bring us to the question, do we stay there, or can I pursue looking for a certified, or, that's with the council. I will tell you that I'm trying to consider whatever we can do in the future to not be in this position, but it's not unique to us, and it's just kind of the price of doing business at this point.
Did that individual who resigned, has he then taken a job somewhere else in there?
He took it with another agency.
He's going with another department.
Yes, sir, he is.
Yeah.
And the other department knows he broke a contract with us?
He breaking a contract, he has a contract to pay a certain amount of money if he leaves before the time. So as long as he pays us the money, you could say he fulfilled
his
contract.
I see.
The question is, how extensive can we make a contract?
Gotcha, okay.
He's paid his penalty?
No, sir. He has, according to the contract, he has 30 days to pay it. He indicates that he will.
Well, yeah, we had that once before where one of them, I think, left in the academy and he paid, but I think his other department paid most of it, so.
You may have, yes, sir.
Yeah, that may be part of where that $10,000 is going too.
I don't know. So again, my question is, if I could proffer it, is should I stay at 13, or should I look for a certified, or what is your direction?
My inclination is to stay with 13. I feel like we've been operating at 12 actually for several months now. I feel like we just, unless this guy makes this right, we've wasted money basically. I know our intentions were good, but we basically paid for this guy to take a job at another department, and it's very disappointing. As much as everyone loves our police department, it is a huge chunk of our overall budget, and we're at a very tight budgeting cycle right now.
There's nothing to say that when times get better, and
Yeah, of
hopefully
course.
times will get better, then you can come in and press an additional man, but
Yes, sir.
the same thing would probably happen if somebody from the street department left tomorrow. We probably would not replace them, not with the budget restraints we have now.
I understand the timing of it, yes, sir.
Well,
Well,
no, the water department's filled, they got lots of money, we can borrow.
Well, I ask that since we've already approved the budget, that we do not reduce the police department budget, just in case we find that we need another officer.
See, the way I look at it is, it's a cost savings of a salary that we had budgeted. I mean, as we passed that budget, we didn't give any raises to anybody. We passed a budget, but it was incredibly tight, and I would rather just look at this as a cost savings, where now, in theory, we have a $50,000 cushion, whereas when we passed the budget with recycling in it, we had maybe a $5,000 cushion. That always makes me nervous, because if one of our revenue projections falls $75,000, $100,000 short, which has happened, then we're in the red again, and we're drawing down our general fund, which we really can't afford to draw down anymore.
Well, then I ask that it be put in restricted funds unless it's absolutely and totally needed, and then we vote on it. The budget's
I
been
kind of
passed.
thought we agreed as a group that we would just freeze any new rehires if somebody left. Maybe
That was my
maybe that was at
understanding.
my head, but.
That was my understanding as well.
I may have missed that meeting when you did that, but my own feeling had been back in December when we agreed to send 2 people to the academy, that if I had known at that time how serious our financial position was, I might well have opted, let's send 1, or let's reconsider that. I would say for this evening, I'm not sure we absolutely have to make a decision right now whether we're going to hire another person. I would at least recommend postponing that decision for a while. Let's see how, within the next several months, are we above or below our expected income, above or below our expected expenses, and then make a decision at that point.
You know, I think, if we end up at the end of the year and we have something, I'd like to see the employees get a decent raise, the ones that are loyal and the ones that stay with us, and that hasn't happened for a while, so they deserve something for staying with us, and I don't know this person that left, but I may know the family, so.
I will say that from what Chief Baker had passed us in terms of the justification and looking at other comparable towns, it really did seem to be in line with those towns. And I appreciate you preparing that.
That's fine, and I understand. I would, if it's kind of while I had the opportunity, I would ask that if another one leaves, that we at least reconsider the topic again for that 13th one. That's kind of getting me really critical. Okay.
I think 13 is the perfect compromise, and the mayor's right about the budget. It's $50,000 or whatever it is, sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not.
No,
It's a payday and a half for the whole town. So you have got to give yourself a little cushion, whether it's for contingencies or what, and not obligated to any one department.
Well, that's why I asked for it to be
Well,
restricted.
yeah, but you were restricting it to the
Well-
police department, so, and you're just one vote, so if they want to pass that, they can, but I think
That's my
looking at it that way, what I'm saying is that 13 might be the perfect number. We can't seem to keep 12 that easily, so.
You mean 14?
14.
No, I mean 12. I mean, we have a lot of trouble. We get to this point, we lose an officer, and this one we lost to some town very close. And I think this town also tried to get one from the sheriff's office that was at graduation. And I called the town, I'm sorry, I called the town as a manager to a manager, because I'm really angry about this. We should be angry about some things that we're not. I mean, this is poaching at its worst, and I told the chief today, it's like heading up to the maternity ward and taking somebody's baby right after they delivered it. It's just really wrong. And there's not enough, I think the contract that we have with them has got to be raised, because it doesn't cover their salary and benefits for that whole 4-month period, when they're really absolutely not doing anything for the police department other than going to school. So the $5,000 cost for the school is zero compared to what it's costing you to send somebody through the academy. You are damaged by somebody stealing your officer that way. You had completely no use of that individual except for Tea Party. So come on. That's the way I feel, but we do need the money. We budgeted for 14. We couldn't really afford it at the time. We had a room full of people about one thing that you didn't even think. They're curbside recycling, so the public was heard. And I think we spent a lot of time trying to keep 12 people out there. So if you have 13, I think that's good enough.
And I would say, if I can offer a little bit of a bright light, so maybe that timing is good in that sense for the availability of money. And secondly, if it would have been a couple months later, we would have then invested field training, which is another labor-intensive effort on our part that we wouldn't have gotten back. So it could be worse. So
do we want to make a motion that we stay at 13 and budget for 13 for this upcoming fiscal year?
Well, I think we should make the motion that we freeze all rehires of people who leave at this point. Now, I'm not saying if the chief happens to leave, we're probably gonna need a chief, but I'm talking about,
I really think this is overly dramatic. I think what's happened is advantageous to us. I don't think you need to do a thing officially, okay? I really don't.
just don't replace him.
Right? The chief knows he's gonna be asking you whether it's to hire somebody or to send somebody to school. He'll be asking the council about the numbers. He comes to every single meeting. So we've been through enough, I think, to get to here.
Well, this was the reason when it came up during our budget meetings to cut some of the policemen. I didn't want us to get the reputation of, because it's hard enough to keep policemen, to cut one of them, and then the word goes out that they let people go. But in this case, we didn't let him go, he let himself go. So I think we're in fine shape that way.
Very good. I appreciate your
Okay.
considerations, thank you.
All right, thanks, chief.
I want to make a motion that we put the 50, was the salary 50,000?
Yeah.
How much is the salary?
The salary is 42, I think, for
All right,
Andrew, though.
42, and then the $5,000 payback into restricted funds. We balanced the budget. We came up with the 50,000 with the 1 cent tax, 55,000 with the 1 cent tax increase. This money is going to be, it's going to be used someplace. I think it should be
Where needed.
restricted.
Where
We've
needed.
given up an employee.
It should be used where?
I think it should be restricted.
For what?
Yeah, for what?
Restricted for what?
To come before the mayor and council to vote on using the money.
So you would like to set up a separate account?
Just count it on the cash on hand as restricted funds.
I don't think it should be left in just one department. I think that's what I tried to
Well,
say a minute ago.
it's not being put on one department if it's being put here on the cash on hand.
I'm okay with that as long as it's, not, I mean, just, it just isn't that way. I mean, but you can say we can keep doing that if you want, but it's,
To
Just
me,
doesn't work that way.
and I guess this is, the motion's been out there, it hasn't been seconded, so this is like the discussion part. To me, it's the 50 grand that we just saved by the unfortunate series of events it's kind of like a contingency fund in case we have overages on, things that we underestimated our costs, or we didn't get the revenue that we thought we were gonna get, or a truck breaks down. It's a cushion, but I don't think we should restrict it. I think it's just, ideally, our budget goes perfectly as it was planned, and it ends up being a cushion that adds to our general fund going into the next year. To me, I don't think we need to restrict it. I think it's just, we don't budget to spend it, and hopefully it's still there at the
Well, then
end
you're
of the
gonna
fiscal year.
Revise
Like, we're
the
not just gonna
budget to show,
think of $50,000 worth of new stuff to spend. It's there in case we have unexpected costs, or we fall short unexpectedly on revenue projections that we've made.
The way I'm understanding her use of the word restriction is if to say, if something does come up, that we know about it in advance of spending it, as opposed to all of a sudden the money's gone. And
Right.
that's the fear that I have. We got this $50,000 and then next month, or in 6 months, it's gone. And we don't know what happened to it or where it went, even if it did get absorbed into some other avenue. So I second your motion,
Thank you.
Linda.
can I have the motion again?
Just to keep the salary of the officer of the $42,000 and the $5,000 payback for the academy into restricted funds. But some of that $42,000 was already spent on his salary. So,
Oh, that
It's not
was in
gonna be
a
that.
different fiscal year, though. It's not in this year's.
oh, okay,
But it doesn't come like that. It comes payday by payday, so.
I know.
I'm not sure what your concern is. You think that we will waste the money? Maybe the idea would be if someone spends beyond what they're budgeted, they have to come before us to ask for additional funds. That'll take
They
care of
never
that.
have.
And I think that usually happens anyway, doesn't it?
What does
Not in-
on capital items, I mean, you have Bob.
Yeah, only
Sykes
on
in here all the time
only
saying
on
that.
capital items
Big
do we
breakdown.
vote.
Well, I think Amanda talked about a truck broke down or something, and
But we've already passed the budget.
Right.
We passed the budget in a way. We said that we were going to take where were we taking the $16,000 from the balance of budget? From
our insurance, the HRA.
Yeah, which was really a place where it could come back as an expense, okay? So we did that. It wasn't optimal. I think that what we should do is balance this budget with this, pledge to stay at 13 officers and leave it at that until we find out the impacts of it. But there's a motion on the floor, so.
There's a motion. It's been seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Wait a minute. What am I saying aye to?
Yeah, that's, I'm not sure. Read the motion, it's supposed to be
What is it
restricted.
To keep the salary and the $5,000 contract money that you're gonna be getting paid back into a restricted fund.
I think we need to define restricted.
Well, when the
That
college,
seems to be the.
when the
That's what I
college
don't
gave the
understand.
$200,000 for the armory, that was restricted funds. When it was spent, it was voted on.
I think that needs to be spelled out in that motion, what we mean by restricted.
You want to restrict it to what, though? I didn't,
And that's the other
To be
thing.
voted
Are we
on.
supposed to tell Amanda to every payday, put this officer's salary into a separate fund?
It was already budgeted in the next budget.
Right.
So now we're gonna
Exactly.
take that money out, off of the budget, and put it on a restricted line, just like this, grant fund restricted use.
Okay.
I'm
But-
just
but-
saying.
Let's get this motion
these
done
grant
here.
funds are restricted
I
because
understand,
somebody give it to
but then
go
you're gonna-
be spent on the marina, or somebody
You're gonna
donated
add an
it.
extra
This is
line.
not donated money, it's taxpayer money.
I know that.
We don't restrict all of our funds.
All right, look, there was a
I just see it
motion,
going.
there was a motion to make the salary restricted. I don't
It's
really
just
get it
in
either,
a
but it was
restricted amount of
seconded.
money.
Yes. We have to vote on it.
Let's vote on it. All those in favor?
Aye. I've
Okay.
seconded and I'm.
Any opposed?
Hey,
Hey,
I'm a nay too.
Amen. So what?
So basically, the savings from the salary will show in our budget that we have a surplus on paper of about 50 grand. It doesn't mean that we're gonna come up with $50,000 worth of new expenses to spend it down. Like, it's just gonna be there in case we have overages that are unanticipated or revenues that fall short of our
I
expectations.
think an easier way to express it is that Chief should endeavor to keep 13 billets in there, and if there's anything different, he will be here to ask. That way, the money still stays in the budget. I would rather take the 16 grand that was taken out of HRA and put it in there, but that sounds like it's too complex for tonight. Okay? The budget, by the way, you passed the budget with the amendment last week, so it's there, it's not been taken, hasn't dried up. Okay?
All right,
So what?
town manager's
All right,
report.
I have 3 things that were just put in front of me tonight, but they're all the enterprise zone income tax credits. And I think I just will read the part about where they are. So remember, they said that we had approved the designation, certain commercial and professional office and industrial developments in an enterprise zone, and we agreed to certify the creation of new full-time employment opportunities by qualified business. And it says, whereas Dixon Valve and Company LLC plans to add up to 10 jobs at its business locations at 225 Talbot Boulevard, 800 High Street, 101 Warner Drive, and Lot 5 of Hack Drive, street address not yet assigned. So these are at different locations, but they're adding 10 more positions. So that's one of the enterprise zone requests. The second one is Dixon Valve Group Enterprises LLC plans to add 1 new job at its business locations at 800 High Street and Lot 5. I don't know how you can add 1 job at 2 places, but Jen, do you understand that?
I'm not sure because they're different businesses, Bill,
Does
so
that
I'm not
mean,
sure.
do you think that means 2 jobs and all, 1 job at each place?
That's what I think.
All right, I'll get a correction on that, but I don't think it makes a lot of difference either way to the council. And number 3 is whereas Kent Athletic and Wellness Club plans to add 1 new job at its business location, 800 High Street and Lot 6 Hack Drive. So again, I don't understand how you can add 1 job 2 places, but we'll get that. It's probably 2 jobs. And I don't know how Kent Athletic Club can really be at 2 different places.
Yeah,
We'll get that straight.
Unless if they're gonna have a different person, because the other athletic club hasn't come in yet.
Okay.
Could be that they're moving an employee there or having a new one.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure.
So these all look like their job, and not real estate taxes. So those are the 3 that you'll be passing tonight if you so desire.
So do we need 3 separate motions, or can we make a motion to
I would
pass all
make one to
3?
pass all 3.
Can you explain that to me again, why they have to ask us for this?
Because they're certifying that they've created new jobs that weren't there before in the state of Maryland. Through this program, not only does real estate taxes, but they also do jobs creation. So they're going, aha, we have a new job here, and there'll probably be other places in the future. And they'll actually, I'll tell you what they'll get for each one. The Maryland Council of Chestertown, that the owner, resolved by us, that the owner of the property shall be eligible to receive income tax credits of $1,000 for each new qualifying employee and up to $6,000 for each new qualifying economically disadvantaged employee, the latter to be credited as $3,000 in 1 year, $2,000 in year 2, and $1,000 in year 3. So you're taking, if you hire people who are economically disadvantaged, you get a bigger reward. So they'll have to document the income of the person before they take the job.
Who certifies this, though? Are they saying we're supposed to?
No, we don't. They have to certify, but we're saying we agree that they can. I hope they're certifying.
I think basically we're just saying they're in that zone.
Right.
They're in the zoning. They are in the zone, so.
It's even hard to say what a new job is and what an old job is if you want to be perfectly clear about it. So hopefully the state of Maryland has some kind of forms for that.
But this is part of the enterprise zone that we created in partnership with the county and the state, which basically provides tax incentives for job creation and also for new capital projects on undeveloped land.
And help me understand here. I'm assuming that this is not a reduction in our current tax base, but rather we are foregoing for future.
Potential additional
No,
revenue.
it's not
in the
even
short
that.
term.
It's not even that.
Well, temporarily
It's not
foregoing.
even that. No,
Okay.
this for the income tax of they'll be claiming this on their income tax with the
Okay.
state of Maryland. These are tax credits for them.
Okay.
For job, so I guess they take that off their bottom line each year, so it doesn't.
That's an omen.
That's a bad omen. Let's get out of here.
Wow.
Did it crack?
Is that like a no vote? Okay, so anyway, there'll be more of these as they create jobs, and that'll just
Gotcha.
help their bottom line business-wise.
Well, that was the whole idea of the thing anyway.
That's right.
Well, one is with
So it's
with their
working.
real estate bill, and the other one's with their income tax.
Okay.
So,
We need a motion to support these 3 resolutions.
I'll move that we support them.
I'll second that.
Can you be a little more specific, Marty?
Pardon?
Can you be a little more specific, like maybe read the resolution
They're
number?
Oh, yeah, I would move that we accept the resolution 4, 2019, 5, 2019, 6, 2019 for Dixon Valve and Coupling, Dixon Group Services, and Kent Athletic Wellness. I should have probably read that after the numbers, but they're right in front of you, so.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is approved unanimously.
that's the end of my report.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have Kay come in and do them. She's prettier than you. And I don't see him early enough, but I'd really like to find out more information about what happens after we do this for you, so you know.
Yeah. Okay, mayor's report, as we stated at our last meeting, we had an opening arise at both the Planning Commission and the Historic District Commission. We have had a couple people express interest in each of those openings. So usually the way this works is people express interest. If I think they are good candidates, I nominate them, and then at our next meeting, you guys have a couple weeks to kind of look over their resume, see what you guys, if you agree that this would be a good person, and then we would confirm their nomination at our next meeting. So for the Planning Commission, we had Rob Bustler submit his resume. He's been on the Historic District Commission in the past. He's an architect and also a solar, he's in the solar industry, so he really has a lot of knowledge. So I'd like to nominate Rob Bustler to fill the Planning Commission vacancy, and we can decide on that at our next meeting. We also had an interesting submission from the Reverend Charles Barton to fill the Historic District Commission vacancy. He lives on Philosopher's Terrace. He has had several projects of his own come before the HDC, and it really intrigued him about the process. Everybody that I've talked to that interacted with him said he was seemed to be a very intelligent, even-keeled person. So I'd like to nominate him to fill the role that is currently vacant at the HDC. So those nominations, did they need to be seconded, or do we just need to vote on them at the next meeting?
Next meeting.
Yeah. So that's yeah.
Or just as an aside, I really appreciate the transparency of this nomination process. I also know Charlie Barton, and when given the opportunity, be happy to.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, he's a nice man.
Good. Okay, board reports. Why don't we start with Ward 1 this evening?
Okay. This is more just a recap of presentations to the county commissioners. And on June 4th, several of us were there, and I think we benefited by the kind of the rebound from the meeting of our own meeting on the previous Monday, because it was more people than I have seen in the county commissioners meeting before. And most of them seemed very supportive of the tax differential. It was too late to have an impact on this year's decision. They had already made their decisions on tax. But I've heard from several people that the county commissioners really were kind of shocked by the level and the intensity of our feeling and of our constituents' feeling on this issue. Chris and I took advantage of the opportunity to tell them what we thought of them. And I've gotten feedback both ways. It was either too strong or not strong enough, but maybe we hit it in the middle. I then went back last Tuesday, and I didn't take anything back that I had said, but I did clarify. I agreed that our county commissioners were working hard on our behalf, reserved my right to disagree with them, and then with regard to the tax differential, made a proposal, kind of three parts on it. First was that we need to admit that we have a problem, if only because the number of people who were concerned about it. Second was that we conduct an audit to determine the nature and extent of that problem. And the third was that rather than waiting till next May or June to begin discussing that we start as soon as possible. I suggested in July. A little bit to my surprise, they agreed. And Ron Fithian in particular said that he would be happy to meet on this. We followed up. He and I have a tentative date set for this Thursday to go through it. He's concerned, and he said this directly in terms of wanting to have apples to apples comparison with other towns rather than an apples to oranges. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up on this, but I was pleased that he made the offer, and there were nice things said by Tom Mason and indirectly by Bob Jacob with regard to this, and I think it's something that we should try to follow through on. And we should all be thinking about various other towns, counties that we think we are comparable to. And if nothing else, I hope this gets us off this bit about every time we raise it, they come up with these, frankly, totally inane and irrelevant comparisons. Oh, our problem is that we're having trash collection, which they don't pay for others, or that our police force is too high, or for what we're looking for is compensation for the savings we provide to the county. And if we can stick to that, and we can define what we mean by that, and we can come up with other counties on it and other towns, I think this is a small step forward on the part of the county commissioners, but we'll see. I'm most encouraged by the fact that starting now rather than waiting until next May or June. We'll see.
Their reason for denying it was feeble at its best.
As best, yes, we've had a great list of
one of them said, well, we've hired some new EMTs. So, we paid for them. We deserve to have the EMT come to my house. It doesn't make sense to me. And the garbage thing in Washington College, it's just lame excuses for not doing. Chris hit it right. $50 million and they couldn't carve out $150,000 for us, or what were you at, 250 or 150?
I requested 250.
Yeah. 50 million, 250 is a...
It's half, it'd be 1/2 of 1%
Yeah.
of the budget.
If they had to pay what we pay for our police department and our street department, they'd have to add another half on their budget.
Yeah, I think, I'll just comment on David's comments a little bit. Ideally, what the commissioners would agree to do is come up with a value of, just say, all right, imagine there is no Chestertown municipal government with its own taxing authority, and now the county has to police Chestertown. How much would that cost the county? Imagine there's no Chestertown municipal government with its own taxing authority, and now the county has to maintain the 25 miles of roads that we currently pay for. How much would that cost them? That's what all these other counties do, and that's how they come up with these compensatory figures. For whatever reason, our commissioners kind of can't wrap their brain around that concept. It's just like, well, you guys run your own show. Well, that's actually kind of the whole idea, is that we're running our own show, so why are we paying you as if you're running the show here when you're not? So all the other counties seem to get that except ours, and it's been really, really frustrating for me, and that's why I didn't go when David went the following Tuesday, because I've been through this enough times that I knew it was already done. So hopefully that can be a starting point, and I do plan to talk to other counties. Maybe Wycomico is one example where they also get no money. They actually hired, and then Ocean City did this, hired a consultant to work with them to come up with a valuation of what it really is giant cost savings to the county. And I think if we continue to refine our case with real numbers that show them demonstrably how much we're saving them every year while we still pay them the full tax rate, hopefully we can keep making headway. If nothing else, they should reinstate the grant in aids that they gave to towns as recently as 2013. That's not 150 years ago, that's 6 years ago. So, anything else, Dave?
No, we're good.
Linda?
I've been kind of taking it easy after the Tea Party Festival committee, or the Tea Party Festival, rather. But we start up again next Wednesday for the next year.
Wow.
We have a wrap-up meeting Wednesday, and Reverend Tolliver has agreed to come on the Tea Party Festival committee, because...
I promise you, didn't I promise you?
Because, no.
What was it? It was a better...
Are you trying to back out already?
Yeah, I am, right?
You owe me one for getting the mural.
Right, I do, that's what it is.
Your award.
So, yes, I will honor that. Just let me know the dates and times.
Okay.
That we meet.
You won't have to come next Wednesday, but you can come to the July meeting.
All right, please let me know.
I don't forget.
I know you will.
You are great.
Please let me know. I will do that.
Now we're gonna hear it from both sides about one volunteer. We won't be able to
I've
get out of
recruited
it.
2 people
Yes.
as
please let me
during the
know.
festival,
All
yeah.
right.
I will do
And
that.
so, our farmer's market is busting at the seams.
It was great on Saturday, really
Yep,
was.
it really
Linda, thank you
is.
for all your work on the Tea Party and all of these things. It's great.
Thank you.
As always, the hotbed of activities is rolling right along. I had the pleasure of attending 2 events with the mayor in the last couple of weeks. The Good Seed tree dedication at Garnett, which was really nice. They planted a huge oak tree that's going to look good there. And part of the environmental project that they're going to do, that nice garden is going to be in the front of Garnett. We're looking forward to that. And we also went with them to the Kent County Middle School, Sultana environmental projects, which was really nice to see some of the kids working on their things for the creek, Radcliffe Creek, which I haven't promised, but I'm close to promising the mayor that I'm going to take a canoe ride in the.
You're really growing.
Hey,
It's all about
It's
growth.
all about growth. So I'm not, I haven't promised yet, but I'm getting close.
All right.
We're taking a canoe ride. And I'm proud to say that we're finalizing the plans for Carpenter Park out in Washington Park. Got an email from Case this week to look at the new design that we've come up with and to make sure that it's going to fit within the budget of the grant. So things are looking good. And I'm hoping that, council and mayor, that we've had a lot of discussion about tax differential and this move of money around in this pot that doesn't seem to grow. And I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, we can start thinking about new and innovative revenue generation. So we're not just kicking this ball around in a circle all the time. I think that is what's going to sustain the growth and make sure that the agencies that we do have continue to grow and thrive within this community.
Okay.
I have a canoe, David, you can borrow my canoe anytime you'd like. It's
I haven't
hard to
promised,
go
I'm not there yet. I'm close, but I'm not there yet. I can't swim.
But
so-
it does take motion to get it going,
Yeah,
so.
I'm not there yet.
On June the 7th, I met with Mrs. Goldblatt, Susan Goldblatt, up in the Oak Hollow, which is those high-rise, high-step, whatever you want to call them, apartments up behind the shopping center. And she expressed a concern, of course, on Hack Drive about the speeding. And I think she's discussed with Bill one time about a tree that they want to take down because they had the fire department up there, and the fire department said it would get in their way of putting out a house fire or something. Yeah, as I told her, there's plenty of room there. They might not be able to set up in the road, but they certainly can drive onto the lawn and the driveway and set up. And if your house is on fire, I don't think you care about a few ruts in your yard. So I said, the idea, she said, what? I said, what do you want? She said, I want the tree taken down. I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to take down a street tree for something like that. So we did discuss some calming effects on Hack Drive. And I told her that with the restrictions on our fiscal our budget at this time, we just don't have the money to do any of those things. But we did talk about my suggestion to the council some time ago about putting in hiking and biking lanes on the side and narrowing the roadway. It's been proven over and over again, if you narrow the road, well, we saw that on High Street. When we narrowed the street down, the traffic slowed down. So maybe that would be the step rather than, there is some real strong objection to speed bumps at that area. And so I think maybe narrowing the road would be the answer. On June the 7th, on June the 15th, Linda was there. I went to the flag ceremony that the Elks Clubs had, where they celebrate the fact that the American flag has been adopted. And the Boy Scout troop was there, and it was really heartening to see some really nice young men participating in that ceremony, which took about an hour or so. And finally, I'm just asking for the council to consider this. I'd like to see an ordinance passed. Let me give you a prelude first. Most people stop at a stop sign I won't say most people. There are people who stop there because they're worried about their safety and the people in their car with them, or they're worried about having an accident. But there's an awful lot of them who stop because they're afraid a policeman might be nearby and give them a ticket. We're starting to have some problems out at the dog park, and you know, we have some rules and regulations posted, but there's no real punishment or incentive for them to do them other than being nice people. And they're not all nice people. That's what I'm saying. What I would like to see is us pass an ordinance, and I have copies of the Chestertown Dog Park rules and regulations, which would involve a civil citation similar to what a parking ticket would be, or, you know, like a parking ticket. Say for $50 for first offense, and double that for the second offense. Hopefully, we'll never have to use it. I just think it would be nice to have that you are subject to a $50 fine if you do not obey the rules and regulations of the dog park. You can pass those around. And it's not a criminal offense. It's a civil citation. We have other things in the code that calls for civil citation. And I just think it may have some effect on, it's getting to the point now where we have a couple of people that have been asked not to bring their dog there, and they're still doing it. A couple of pit bulls, and it's, you know, people, their dog is like part of their family, and they don't want them hurt, so. These are already posted out there. They know they're not supposed to do it. I see people smoking in there, and I'm not saying we're going to give them a $50 fine if they got a cigarette, but or
it's not the dog.
Cigar.
It's not the dog smoking.
Huh?
It's not the dogs that are smoking.
No.
Okay.
But they eat them. That's the problem. Part of the problem is that they. But at any rate, I'd like you to read them over and think about it, and maybe I'll be glad to help draft an ordinance, and Bill could refine it. But it would be very simple, and we would just post, you know, you are subject to a $50 fine for violation of any of the dog park regulations. And we do that for noise, we do it for other things, so I think it'd be worthwhile doing.
And would our police force enforce that? If
They could, right, same citation, yeah. Yeah, it's not a, they write them now for civil citations.
Okay.
You say that a person has to be 16 years old to walk a dog in the park?
We do have one for not cleaning up for dogs. That's already in there, in the code, but that's not the one I'm really, most people are pretty good at that, and nobody really gets hurt bad, or their dog, if they don't clean up the poop, except they get hollered at by me if I see it happening. So I'm getting more and more people come in and walk right to the pavilion, sit down and get their telephone, and whatever they do with their telephone, and sit there for a half an hour, and they don't know what their dog's doing, so.
Right. No, my question really was this an important part of it to you, that the dog walker must be 16 years old?
Pardon?
How important is it to you that the dog walker is 16 years old? I think most of us could walk a dog at 8 or 10 or 12.
Well, you know, most of these come from, I did a lot of research on them, and that's what they feel is a safe and sane. Yeah, you could walk a dog, but can you separate them? Can you? It just seemed, well, when do you take it down? Now, we don't allow anybody under the age of 10 in the dare, because the problem is when a little child is running, if he's just laughing and running, and some dogs think that's game, and they go after him. So we restrict the age, and we just want the people to be reasonable, and you know, that's how I came up with that.
Gotcha.
All right, anything else, Marty?
No. things seem to be doing okay in the 4th.
All righty. Okay, that's it for ward reports. There were no requests from the public to be on the agenda. Are there any questions or comments? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm remiss in not saying this earlier. I just want to take advantage of the public platform. This is an old scam, but it seems to have new life. This past week, I've had several reports, so just caution the public to be aware of it. We're getting calls to the elderly, and it's a sophisticated system, and somehow they actually know who your grandchildren are and what their name is and some information about them, to the point that some of these victims are arguing with me, that it's got to be real because they knew this and this and this. The gist of it is, hey, your grandson, David, has been in a motor vehicle accident. His cell phone was damaged. That's why he couldn't call you personally. But he needs money to get out of jail because it was a DUI or something like that. And then they'll give you instructions, hey, go get $5,000 out of the bank, or go get, coupons or whatever it is they tell you. And then they will give you further instructions, and some of these people are doing that, and of course, it's totally false. So anything that you have any concern, and I understand touching on the heartstrings of your grandchildren, call the police first and we'll help you, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I personally heard of close friends who this happened to in the last week as well.
Wow.
Your neighbor.
My neighbor, yes.
Somebody got got my email address and sent it out that I was in the Philippines and got arrested, and they wanted them to send $10,000 or something. And I said, I don't have any friends that's gonna pay $10,000 to get me out of jail.
Ransom a red chief, man.
But I had to change email addresses, and it's really a pain in the butt.
One of my mother's grandsons.
All right, any more
in
questions or
jail,
comments?
so She wanted to fall.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Amen.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness, my neighbor just came in.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I had to see him from,
I know.
it just happened